For anyone like me whose formative years were in the 1970s, a Mini with a flat front and these stripes down the side only meant one thing, and that was a 1275 GT. But this one says 1590 GTI, so all is not quite as it seems. So we've got the owner, Phil, here, who is going to give us a little bit more information about this car. Thank you for talking to us, Phil.
Afternoon, you're welcome.
Now, that obviously used to have an A series in it, and looking at it, the word Honda shouts at me. So where did this engine come from?
Okay, this is from a Civic, late 90s, early noughties, 1590, hence the stripes and the message that you saw inside. The idea being to make a bit of a sleeper car. No real hint of what's there right at the back, and if you know, you know. I bought this car about 2.5 years ago, thinking it was more than it possibly was. It was low, all show, no go, very harsh. I bought it on a whim, overpaid, as we do.
But you're not the first, Phil, and I'm really sure you won't be the last. So maybe a little bit of a cautionary tale for people out there. But yeah, sorry, carry on, Phil.
Yeah, so I thought there was very minimal bodywork needed doing. That proved not to be the case. Having driven it and owned it for a few weeks, thought it's lacking in oomph. Wasn't what I imagined owning a GT had to be. So I'd seen a chap online who'd put supercharger in various minis, called Michael Water-Johns at M10 Cars. So I got in touch with him. Long story short, we got together. He came up with a blow car, took it away. When he started to look at it, he felt the engine wouldn't take the extra horsepower. So what were we going to do? I was faced with, I just put a car back on the market, try and flip it on, maybe lose some money. Thought about going electric, thought about it for about 2 minutes.
Yeah, that's about 1 minute 59 longer than I would have thought about it, so yeah.
Well, it's on trend, isn't it?
Yeah.
45 grand and an 18-month waiting list before any work started. And then I realised, what am I doing? It's in 2.5 bucks all the way for me with a Mini.
We're on the same page, man.
I avoided another mistake. So there we are, about 2 years and a considerable amount of money later. I've had this car 2 weeks now. And you can see the engine sits in there very nicely. Purpose-built subframe, some jiggery pokery and magic. New brakes and suspension. New radiator, as you see. Lights and everything to try and make it. Resto mod is a term I don't really want to use, but it kind of is.
Yeah, you're certainly, I would say, you look at it and say you're definitely on the edge of that it's very much showing its original style, but with more modern underpinnings. And the other thing, like we touched on off camera, is that Honda and Rover obviously had a relationship in the 80s and 90s, and potentially this could have been the future, couldn't it, back in sort of mid-90s?
Yeah, well, that's what we like to think, is that this could be the next generation, for want of a better word, like the Rover 216 or the Acclaim or the Honda or the Triumph. Easily could have been the same engine with a bit of development. And we're pushing out 128 brake at wheels, dyno. It drives very, very nicely. Sounds good. Keeps up with modern travel. Can surprise a few of the Sierra and the Corsa boys, which I've done, which is fun. And makes it into something that I think I can certainly keep for a long time and enjoy for a long time.
And of course, just finally, for those people at home that are a bit number obsessed, I noticed you had a little bit of a graph on the dash there. What are we kicking out?
Yeah, 128 horse.
And do you know what it weighs?
No, but not a lot. I need to look it up because I'm going to get asked this again in the future, aren't I?
Yeah, but I'd say probably 800 kilos is the sort of number that jumps to my head. So that's sort of 150, 160 brake horsepower per tonne. So yeah, there's a few people that you're going to wake up at the traffic lights of that one.
It's at least twice the horsepower of the original 75 GT.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much for showing us, Phil. It's been a real pleasure. And I think it's a really nicely put together and well executed build.
Much. Appreciate it. Glad people like it.